Welcome to this Know Your Rights Forum, a collaboration between the City of Salem and the Oregon Law Center. My name is Joaquin Lara Mirkif, and I'm chair of Salem's Human Rights Commission. Today, communities in Oregon and across the country are facing violent and devastating ICE activity. Our neighbors here in Salem have turned to their local government for leadership during uncertain times. In late November, the City of Salem declared a state of emergency after significant public engagement. The declaration directs city staff to provide sanctuary law training to city employees and helps to ensure that city complies with Oregon requirements prohibiting state and local cooperation with federal agents. This includes not allowing the city to collect citizenship information that could be used by ICE. The declaration also directs staff to coordinate with community partners to provide needed services. To that end, today's conversation is the first in a series of conversations in response to that state of emergency, one that we hope brings a modicum of clarity to our communities in crisis. Part of the Commission's role is public education, and while as part of the city the Commission cannot give legal advice, we are grateful to have expertise in our community able to share accurate and actionable information. Joining us from the Oregon Law Center's Farmworker Program are Valentina and Rebecca. Welcome. The Oregon Law Center Farmworker Program is a legal aid organization that provides free civil legal assistance to farm workers throughout the state of Oregon. The Oregon Law Center helps low-income Oregonians access civil legal aid and knowledge to improve their lives. Today, Valentina and Rebecca will be talking with us about what to do if you're interacting with federal law enforcement agents, including immigration and customs enforcement officers, commonly known as ICE. In December, the Commission received anonymous questions from the public. Answers to many of those questions will appear in the presentation you are about to hear. And before passing it on to the Oregon Law Center, I'd like to take a moment to thank CC Media for their generous use of their studio and technical support. Valentina, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Joaquin.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca, and I'm an attorney with the Oregon Law Center Farmworker Program. I was also born and raised here in Salem, so I'm especially grateful to be here today.
And my name is Valentin, and I'm with the Oregon Law Center's Farmworker Program as well. I am a Mixteco speaker. I'm a former farm worker, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Thank you, Joaquin. Thank you to the Commission, and thank you to the City of Salem for this invitation.
Thank you. As Joaquin mentioned, this training is brought to you in response to a growing concern in the community regarding interactions with federal immigration agents or ICE agents. The purpose of this training is to explain the rights everyone has in Oregon when interacting with federal law enforcement officers or ICE agents. These civil rights are provided by the United States Constitution, and these rights apply to all Oregonians and people in the United States, regardless of their immigration status. Before we dive into this conversation, we would like to begin with a few disclaimers. While we were graciously invited by the City of Salem, we do not represent the City of Salem. We were invited to share general legal information. None of the information shared here today is specific legal advice, and we recommend that anyone with specific legal questions consult with an attorney, either an immigration attorney or a civil rights attorney, and we will provide resources that may be helpful in that end.
As we mentioned, Rebecca and I work with the Oregon Law Center's Farmworker Program, and the Oregon Law Center's Farmworker Program, it's a statewide program that provides free civil legal services to low-income Oregonians on employment-related issues, civil rights, and other issues arising due to their status as farm workers. We want to acknowledge that Marin County is a county with a large population of agricultural workers, and a huge our communities have been impacted by ICE activity, and our farm workers play a critical role in our local economy, and so we appreciate the work that they do. Now, if you would like to learn more about the Oregon Law Center, we encourage people to visit our website, www.oregonlawcenter.org, where you'll find more information about what the Oregon Law Center is, and also information about our regional offices across the state.
We understand that many of the answers we share here will not eliminate the risk of unlawful detentions and abuse of power by federal agents. We urge the community, regardless of status, to learn about their rights and exercise them wherever and whenever possible. Additionally, we encourage all to create an emergency plan for their family. We will share additional resources towards the end of the presentation. This information will feel brief, but we will share other resources that can provide more insight.
And to ground our conversation to the current issues that our communities are facing, we thought it would be really important to talk about some of the most fundamental rights that people have in the United States. And the constitutional rights that we'll be talking about here today have long been held by the United States Supreme Court.
So apart from the rights that we'll talk about provided by the Constitution, we, as Joaquin alluded to, Oregon is a sanctuary state. It was the first sanctuary state in the nation. So currently, state and local law enforcement agents and agencies are prohibited from enforcing immigration laws or collaborating with ICE agents. The Sanctuary Promise Act states, a law enforcement agency may not use agency monies, equipment, or personnel for the purpose of detecting or apprehending persons for the purpose of enforcing federal immigration laws. What this means is that in Oregon, ICE can still come in and operate as we've seen, but local law enforcement and state agencies cannot help them.
Now, going back to some of the most fundamental rights that I alluded to under the United States Constitution, we have the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment protects us from warrantless search and seizures, and the Fifth Amendment, which provides us the right to remain silent. Remember, the Fourth Amendment relates to your right to privacy, to have your personal property search or seize without your consent or a judicial warrant. And a judicial warrant is a very specific document issued by a judge, by a court, that has to have certain elements for it to be valid. The Fifth Amendment relates to your right to remain silent. And if ICE agents are asking you questions, you can invoke your fifth right to remain silent. And some community members might have seen the red cards that have been shared by community organizations. And those red cards have information and explain your rights under the Fourth and Fifth Amendment.
And so again, we just like to remind everyone, these amendments are the Fourth and the Fifth. The Fourth relates to a right to privacy and to not have anything of your own person or property searched or seized. And the Fifth relates to your right not to incriminate yourself. So again, just remembering those, and we don't have to remember them exactly, but it is helpful to know what they protect. So while federal agents must follow federal laws and the Constitution, we understand that there have been instances in Oregon and throughout the country where this has not been the case. This creates understandable confusion, frustration, fear, and chaos. Upholding the rule of law, due process, and protection of civil rights is crucial in these moments especially. Again, if there is uncertainty surrounding whether someone's civil rights have been violated, we encourage seeking direct legal advice. So the rights we have that we've talked about so far are applied differently depending on where we find ourselves physically, meaning the location where we are. In the following sections that we'll go through, we will go over common areas where it is important to know where the law could be applied or how the law could be applied when interacting in these places with federal law enforcement agents like ICE.
Now, you might be wondering how this law applies in a public place, and I think it would be good to first define what a public place is. Generally speaking, a public place is a place where anyone can go in and out. For example, a store during business hours, people going purchase stuff or might just go into the store, come out. That would be considered a public place. Now, if that same store has an area where it says employees only, which is a rest area, then that would be considered a private place. Now, another example, let's say people are in a lobby at a hospital or at a clinic where people go in and out, that would be considered a public place. Now, if people are inside a patient's room where medical providers are expected to be in and the patient, that would be considered a private place. And we know that many businesses in solidarity with our communities have been posting signs describing their location whether it's private, public, and what parts of their location is private. And so it is important for us to recognize those posting signs that have been posted by business communities across the state. Now, if ICE stops you at a public place, for example, a sidewalk, you're walking, whether it's to school or you walk on a street, and an ICE agent approaches you and starts asking you questions, one of the very important questions that you can ask is if you are free to go. If the ICE agent implies that you are free to go, then you can call me, walk away. Now, if they say you cannot walk away, then it is important for you to invoke your right under the Fifth Amendment, which is the right to remain silent. Or you can also utilize the red cards if you wish to.
Again, as a reminder, you do not have to consent to the search of your person or your belongings. You can state or say, I do not consent to this search. The agent needs to know that you are using your rights, so saying this phrase in English or providing the red card like Valentin just mentioned can be an extremely useful tool. You only need to show immigration documents if you have them and are asked to do so by ICE. This is an important distinction. They will likely ask to see them. It is important to never carry or show false documents of any kind. And as a reminder, legal permanent residents and other non-citizens over the age of 18 are required to carry their U.S. identification cards or documents on their person and can be asked to show them by federal agents. You do not have to surrender your cards or your documents, and you should and can ask for them to be returned to you promptly. Generally, it is better not to carry foreign identification documents. We know many consulates have done a great job of providing those documents to our community members. But as a reminder, our recommendation is to carry only valid U.S. identification documents like an ID card or license issued by the state of Oregon. And for those of us who are U.S. citizens in Oregon, as a reminder, you are not required to carry proof of citizenship. We do know that the reality is that many people are choosing to do so anyway. So we recommend carrying and keeping documents in a safe location. Sometimes folks carry copies of documents, and that is up to the discretion of the agent to either accept them or not.
Now, if you are stopped while driving, ICE agents may require or ask for a driver's license. It is important to provide the driver's license if you have one. And also, the other thing to keep in mind is that the individuals who are inside the car, who are passengers, they can also be asked about their immigration status. But again, they can ask if they're free to leave, and if not, they can invoke their right to remain silent. We know that a lot of farm workers utilize a transportation where they may be getting a ride from a driver who operates a vehicle where there might be many passengers inside that car. And as a passenger, it is important to remember that you have those rights under the Fourth and the Fifth Amendment as well.
So we come to the question posed by our community's members: what should I do if I see vehicles without license plates stopping me? We understand ICE tactics include driving in unmarked vehicles without license plates. Stopping somewhere safe is recommended. If there is fear or uncertainty around the identity of those who are approaching your car, you can call law enforcement to address the issue. You can ask the person stopping you to identify themselves. We know that that may not always happen, so recording the interaction can actually provide further protection so that there is documentation of what happened. We will cover recording and documenting in an upcoming section.
And one of the lingering questions that community members have is whether federal ICE agents can enter into their home, and what to do if they force their way into the house without a judicial warrant. Recent news articles have circulated about this topic, causing a lot of concerns and anxiety.
In this next section, we'll cover the rights we have in our home, which many have understood to be the most protective, and that is true. So when you are in your home, you have the most rights. ICE is not supposed to enter your home without your permission or a judicial warrant signed by a judge. And as Valentin mentioned earlier, a judicial warrant is a very specific document that has a specific letterhead and has the word judge under the signature. We would like to remind the community that ICE may be persistent with knocking or attempting to force or trick you to let them in or open the door. When we say your permission to enter, it doesn't mean an explicit invitation. So sometimes that can simply mean just opening the door, and that is enough. Remember, you don't have to engage at all. You can simply say, I'm not opening the door, and back away. We recommend having conversations with all members of your family and your household, including children, about not opening the door. Administrative ICE warrants do not allow entry into your home. That is what the law holds. They are issued by ICE and signed by agents. They are not signed by a judge. Remember, you are looking for a warrant signed by a judge only. That is the only type of warrant that will allow entry into your home, or if someone opens the door. You can ask to see a warrant through a window or ask them to slide it under the door. It's possible they will refuse to show you if they have one, so recording yourself asking could be helpful in the future. If there is no judicial warrant, you can say, I do not consent to entry. Record yourself saying that, stepping away from the door, all of that can be helpful. As mentioned, it is possible they will continue to knock or attempt to gather in front of your home or gather information from outside the door. You do not have to engage.
Invoking these rights does not guarantee that federal ICE agents will comply with the laws. And if you feel that they're entering your home without a judicial warrant, it is important to also state that you do not consent to the search and document the evasion in a safe and secure manner. Do not interfere with the activity of ICE. Documenting any overt violation of your rights will hopefully help you in the future to bring a claim against the agency. It may not prevent them from not following the law, but it is important to say, I do not consent to the search and document what is happening. Again, if you feel your civil rights have been violated by federal ICE agents, it is important to consult with an attorney immediately.
Moving along to the following section, if someone is detained or arrested, they may feel that they have to answer questions because they are in detention or they're being arrested. Remember, even in those circumstances, people have the right to remain silent under the Fifth Amendment. It is important to remember that silence can be on certain topics, so you can and should communicate only what is necessary and not answer any further questions. So some examples of things that are necessary or could be helpful to communicate are medical conditions, if you're taking some sort of medication, wanting to speak to a lawyer, verbalizing that, saying, I want to speak to my lawyer or a lawyer. And if there are any children present in the home or in your care, those are all things that are okay to verbalize. You do not need to answer any of ICE's questions and should not provide information about place of birth or immigration status without representation by a lawyer.
And again, you have the right to consult with a lawyer. Immigration arrests are different than criminal arrests. So a person will not automatically be assigned to an attorney, but you have the right to speak and to consult with an attorney. Again, it is important to consult with an attorney and do not sign any document without first consulting with that attorney. Also, we will share some resources towards the end of our talk today where you can access and receive additional information.
So the next section covers workplaces and schools. We understand that this is a growing concern, so we wanted to touch on that topic. When it comes to workplaces, employers can refuse ICE entry without a judicial warrant into their business, but that is up to their discretion and training. So if ICE is allowed into a workplace or an owner of a workplace says, sure, come in, they can go in. But again, there are instances where there are private places in the workplace where they may not be allowed without permission. But if they are given permission, that is a consideration to make. Schools have been directed to implement policies that protect students, and many have, including refusing ICE entry onto private school grounds without a judicial warrant. And my understanding is there will be future communication about this topic. Private locations, as Valentin mentioned, can have their own internal policies about when they will give information or allow agents to enter. Some of the local clinics are private clinics, right? So they have their own policies, and they've come up with their own guidance as to when they will share information and how they will operate. You can ask your local clinics, and you should ask your local clinics, providers, and schools what their policies are in these scenarios, so that you can get some understanding as to how they will act and what they will do.
Now, let's move on into recording and documenting ICE interactions or interactions with ICE. You have the right under the United States Constitution to record ICE activity in public places, in your own home, in workplaces, or another place where you have been invited. This includes videos and audios. You do not need permission, and you do not have to explain why you are recording. It is important to remember that you should not interfere with ICE's activity. Keep a reasonable distance, be safe, and stay in public places at all times. While recording, try to capture important things such as identification numbers, uniforms, vehicles that are being utilized, the time of the incident, and the location. So think clear, count, location, equipment, actions, and report in real time. You can speak while you're recording the video. Now, one thing that we encourage people is to avoid recording the face of the person that is being detained or is being arrested. This will protect their person privacy and could also help their family in case the detention was illegal.
So now we know that there have been instances where officers have told people not to record. And if this happens, we encourage folks to calmly respond that you have the right to record officers in public places. They can ask you, and they may ask you to step away or step back. You can do so and say out loud while recording, "I'm taking 2 steps back," or I'm backing away, while remaining in the public space without stopping the recording. Remember, you're not required to hand over your cell phone or whatever recording device you're using, or delete your video without a court order signed by a judge, even if they tell you you have to do so.
And one of the questions that we received from the community is, what should I do if I'm stopped by an agent who is masked and does not identify themselves? ICE agents, as we know, are using different tactics, including covering their faces and only identifying themselves as federal agents. Currently, there's no laws in Oregon that prevents them or forces them to conduct their immigration enforcement unmasked. You can ask if you are being detained and ask why. It is likely they will not respond, but if you are told you're not detained, you can call me, walk away. Remember, you can also record this interaction.
Another question posed by community members is, what can I do if a family member is detained by ICE? And we know that this is a very sensitive topic. The recommendations we have is you should not interfere in the detention or arrest, but you may choose to record it or document the encounter with detailed notes. And Valentin shared some helpful information on how to do that using the acronym CLEAR. Immediately after the detention, we recommend consulting with an immigration attorney who may be able to help. If you do not have one that's already working on a case, you can reach out to the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition or PERC, who can help navigate you to someone who can help. We will share that number at the end of our presentation. You should also be familiar with their emergency plan or protect your family plan if they have one. We recommend that families go through this level of emergency planning together so that all members of the family understand what steps to take in case there is a detention or an emergency. So again, we urge the community to create a Protect Your Family packet and to work through one. We will share the link at the end of the presentation. This packet was created by the Oregon Law Center and Latino Network, and it covers crucial documents and preparation our community can work through to prepare themselves for emergencies. Towards the end of the video, we will provide a list of resources, including that QR code. We will note here that the specific question posed by our community member was, "What should I do if they take my dad?" Young people in our community are understandably scared and frustrated, and we urge families to check in with their children about what is happening in an age-appropriate way.
And one thing I wanted to just quickly add is that the Protect Your Family packet is available in our website. And again, we'll share the QR link towards the end of this section. But I wanted to say that it is a document that is free and available for the public to utilize. Now, another question that was presented to us to try to answer is, should I still go to my doctor's appointment? Can I still go to my doctor's appointment? We understand this is a huge concern to our client communities and the communities in general. And this is a very personal decision. And we understand the unfortunate reality in which we live in now that creates reluctance to seek medical treatment. We would recommend people to reach out to their medical provider and to see what virtual options they may offer. We understand from medical providers that they care deeply about their patient and want to find ways to support them. Many clinics are aware of the tension that exists and wish to support their patients. They will therefore try to work with you to try to see what they can do for you to continue to receive medical treatment. Again, when you're calling your clinic trying to understand what their policies are, you do not have to reveal your immigration status, but you can indicate that it will be preferable for you to participate virtually, for example.
Thank you, Valentin. So the following question was also posed is, what resources are out there? What resources are available for the community? And we've named a few throughout the presentation, but we want to just list them and we'll provide them also on the screen. So the Equity Corps of Oregon, or ECHO, is an organization that helps provide legal representation for those in immigration detention or with immigration-related concerns. PIRC, or the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition, is coordinating the rapid response that we see throughout the state. And there are various other community organizations that are partnered with them that are providing rapid response. So if you see something happening in your community, PIRC is the number you should call, and you'll see that also on your screen. Our organization, so the Oregon Law Center, and also our sister organization, the Legal Aid Services of Oregon, are both civil legal aid organizations that can provide support. The Oregon State Bar has a referral service where folks can call and get access to names and numbers and contact information for attorneys in the area for their specific needs. Emerge is the interfaith movement for immigrant justice. They coordinate and run an accompaniment program for those who are in immigration proceedings and who may not have someone else who can go with them to their court hearings. They are actively working to recruit volunteers and get them trained to go take notes, and that is a huge asset for the community. And the Oregon Department of Justice has a bias hotline and also a section related to sanctuary promise. So we recommend looking into that if there is some questions. And as we mentioned and Valentin mentioned earlier, the Protect Your Family packet, which is free and a helpful resource for all families in Oregon, regardless of status, to look through and look at what options exist for an emergency plan for their family.
Now, we will conclude by providing some or summarizing some of the key takeaways from today's talk. It is important to remember that we have the right to remain silent and to practice it too. Practice saying, I want to remain silent. Practice, I do not consent to a search. Remember, you can use the red card as well. If you need red cards, they are probably available at many community-based organizations in your local community. And so when you're interacting with federal ICE agents, you can ask, am I free to leave? And again, as we mentioned, if they're saying you cannot leave, then you can invoke your right to remain silent. You also have the right, as we mentioned, to record interactions with federal ICE agents. That includes the video and audio as well. This video can be helpful in case federal ICE agents violated your rights or your civil rights.
Now, if you or your loved one is detained, you have the right to remain silent and share only necessary information, including asking to speak to a lawyer, informing the agent of medical conditions, and children who are in your care. Do not share information about your status or place of birth. ICE is not supposed to enter your home without your permission or judicial warrant signed by a judge. You do not have to engage with ICE if they are at your door, regardless of what they try to do or say to gain access. If you are concerned about what is happening and you are concerned about your specific status, we encourage you to consider enrolling in ECHO. And as I mentioned, it is a way to get free legal representation in immigration proceedings. Their number is 1-888-274-7292, and their line is open and there are people available to help Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. If you are a farm worker, our office is here to help. Please call us at 503-726-4381 or 503-981-0336. If you're not a farm worker but are looking for legal aid assistance here in the Salem area, please call the Oregon Law Center Salem Regional Office at 503-485-0696. And again, we like to thank Joaquin, the Human Rights Commission, the City of Salem, for having us here today to give this talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you again, Rebecca and Valentin, for your time today and your thoughtful presentation. And I hope for those at home, this is the beginning of many conversations about the rights that everyone in Oregon has. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.